And okay, so thank you everybody for coming. And I'm going to do something cheeky later. I'll show you what it is. So let me share a screen with you. This is the outline. On the screen. Is it something else? Can you see this? Okay. So today, because the people that we have, they're actually due to have their babies soon. Some of them are, due in the next few weeks. So I've invited people to stay, and I'm recording this. I've invited other people from like Vrindavan, Delhi, other places to join us. And I would like to start with the 30th week, what I would normally present to people at the 30th week. Let me see who all is here. Not enough. I'm going to wait for some more parents. Oh, a couple of parents. Cool. Okay. Now we're cooking. Let me try this. Extending this. All right. Okay, so I'm going to start at 30th week when I use, this is something I would present, say, halfway through our normal childbirth practices, classes. I'm going to keep this thing as an ongoing rolling thing that we will just keep covering parts of pregnant. We'll just keep going through this cycle and covering topics. Having said that, if anybody has anything they specifically want to speak about or discuss, we can go to that as well. And as I say, I'm specifically changing it like this for today because we have some people who are soon to have their babies. So let me start. Did you know that there are 3 stages of labor? Actually, we could say 4. We're going to develop this into 4 stages of labor. So this is something that it looks like.
கொஞ்சம் தாச்சி ಮಾಡಿ ಹೋಗೋಣ ಬೂ ಬಾ ಬಾಮ್ಮ.
See, we have babies here. So we have 4 stages of labor. This is showing actually 3 of them. So normally we say the first stage of labor is from 0 or 1 centimeter of dilation to 10 centimeters of dilation, this bottom one. But I'm going to throw in, and some people also include the, what do you call it? The latent phase, the pre-labor warm-up. So we will call this stage 1 of labor. That's the part where the woman is just getting ready. The uterus is just getting ready to go into labor. So it's going to start having some contractions. It's going to have some patterns of contractions and then disappear. And then after some hours, they'll come back and maybe they'll pick up and be a bit more strong. And then they disappear. And so this tends to go on back and forth until we get into established labor. So established labor, can you do me a favor? There's a plastic card with the rings on it, different size rings. It's a gray plastic. You'll see it when you see it. You'll know it when you see it. So the next part of labor is this, where the cervix completely opens up. So we have the beginning of labor, which often involves this amount of dilation from 1st to 4. Thank you. And then we get into established labor. At this point, the contractions, instead of coming every 15, 20 minutes and then stopping for hours and then coming back and playing up again for another hour or two and then stopping till the next day. This is not an established pattern of labor. It's pre-labor. And it off, like I'm saying, I'm repeating myself because, well, it's a cycle. So these early contractions, they come and go and come and go, and they will get you get your cervix, getting your cervix ready for labor. So what does this mean? For actually dilating further. This means that the cervix is starting quite thick, starts thick, and it gets thinner and opens, and it gets thinner and it opens, and it gets thinner again and it opens more. Let me show you in another way. So here, and this is something anybody who comes to my house, you've seen this sitting around, and you know this little finger thing, you can see how it's giving you an idea of how thick you might find the cervix at this point. And then at this one here, you're 2 centimeters dilated, and you can feel a thickness again. And the further you dilate, the thinner your cervix becomes. Yeah. Let me change this view. Any questions at this point? You can raise your hands or just call out. All right.
AL, if you can just put up the photograph of the poster that you had shown earlier on the group, that will be helpful. Yes. If you can put a photograph of this on the group, maybe we can
Okay.
also have it for our reference. And
Yeah. No, you're right.
the
You're right. I'm just getting used to doing all this.
or maybe after the class you can do that. That's fine.
Yeah,
This
I'll be,
representation of the cervix being thinner is a beautiful representation. It's
you're
actually very
absolutely
good
right.
to know. Yes.
Okay, actually, just bear with me. I do have such a thing. But not here. Okay, I'll look for it, and if I'm lucky, I find it sooner, but you're absolutely right, and I will do that. You can listen to my birds in the meantime, who just had babies. They're not my birds, they just nested over here in a box. All right, I'll find it later, sorry. But you're right. So again, in the beginning, we have this crampy bit. This is when you have these types of contractions, they feel very much like period pains, back pain, cramping. You'll notice that your belly will get tight and you'll wonder, is this it? And then with your excitement, that you'll notice that the pattern will come and go and come and go. So I'm seeing this backwards, but let me read this. What does it say? Yeah, basically everything I just said. So contractions can be anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes apart, 3 to 30 minutes apart. They can last 15 to 40 seconds. And just like I said, just these crampy things. So what to do? Oh my God, what are we going to do? Now, right here, this part I find is the most challenging part right here. These days, nowadays, this is the hard bit right here. And it involves this amount of dilation, the very beginning. I also like to point out, as you can see in this diagram, there's points that I call plateaus. You walk along for a long time, and then finally you start climbing the hill. Climbing the hill, what does that mean? that means the contractions are getting stronger. And then when you climb a hill, you're climbing, right? You're working, your heart's pumping. It's picking up here. It gets to a point around here where it's like, am I going to do this or am I not? And that's the point of all plateau. And you have to come to your own internal decision. All right, let's do this. And I want to say too, at this point, don't try to push it. Nothing you do is going to make the labor happen. I'm going to say that again. See, at this point, from 0 to 4 centimeters, that's the very beginning of labor. Nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do to make yourself pick up in labor. And I do this myself. Mental out. I want, what can you do? And it's a mental thing. You just get in your mind. Oh, not just you. This is a terrible time for you and your family here. So this is when the family starts worrying too. When are you going to go into labor? When is it going to start? When's the baby coming? Oh my God, when's the baby coming? When's the baby coming? When's the baby coming? Well, it ain't going to come with these questions or pressure. And nothing you can do will make it happen. I keep using the example of, and I tell my women, go outside and yell at the sky to rain. Go on, make it rain. Make the wind blow, make the wind stop blowing. There's nothing you can do or say, absolutely nothing you do or say is going to change the wind pattern, is going to change the pattern of rain or the tides. Nothing. It doesn't give a damn what you're doing. It's going to make it's going to come when it's ready. So what does that mean? It's going to come when it's ready, when it can work, when you can allow it to do its job, meaning relax, let go, let it do its job. So then we go into what we call active labor. Active labor. So this is like, okay, I guess I can't use manual drive. Oh, Divya drives manual. Maybe Rudy drives manual. This is like shifting gears. We've been running in low. We've been going in first. Now we're shifting gears. In fact, we're not going to second, man. We're going to go straight into third. So this is revving of the engine. You can hear it moving up. Your contractions are getting stronger. They're getting closer together and lasting significantly longer. What do they fit? What does it say here? Yep. Longer and more intense, what I just said. So that's from 6 centimeters, 5 to 6 centimeters. And I'll take you, actually, just from here to here is this is kind of a short time period, believe it or not. It feels like you're running up a steeper part of the hill for sure. It's more intense at this point, for sure. It's stronger. Yes. If that's you, Tom, Sabir, you may add someone, no problem. Okay, so once you're in here, around here in India, the home births I'm having this time around, I'm finding women struggle at this point. And as I said in the first class, you're going to have to get through this. Okay, now I'm going to take you seriously. Before this, I'm not. And I'm going to say this again. What do I mean by that? I don't mean to say I'm not taking you seriously. But what I do mean to say is don't start pulling in your support crew now. Don't start dragging everybody in, and your mother's going to stay up all night talking to you, and your neighbor, your friends are going, are you okay? Are you okay? And things like this. It's a time to relax and breathe your way into it, and then make the shift into here. Yeah, was there a question? Okay. This is when you're really, so I'm saying, I don't hang out at your house at this point. I'm also advising my midwife students. Yep. Don't worry about, don't go ahead, go check on the mom. But we're not going to hang around for this. You have to come to terms with how it feels, how the contractions are. We'll help you, we'll guide you. And then, do I have to add them? Serbi, or do they just come on?
Yes, ma'am, they joined.
Okay. So at this point, this is for you women to get it together. No one can, again, I say this to you, and this is my way of working. I can't help you. I'm not the type of person who's going to bring in drugs or force your labor along. I'm not. And around here, you can see women stay in labor for 4 to 5 days, fooling around here. So I actually won't call this labor. I'm just letting you know that we get dragged along around here a bit. So the midwives, I don't teach them to go over it and hold your hands yet. I say the same thing for your friends. I say the same thing for all your support team. Wait for it. We recently had an experience where we had our women out for 30 hours, working hard, full on hard with a woman, only to find she was just here. And she could not, everybody was exhausted before she could even get into the point where you really need support. And that place is active labor. Those contractions get stronger, they come quicker, as we already said. So what can we do for that? This is where it's called active labor for a reason. So this is a time you can get up and move about and do different things. Again, I do have these on screenshot, but I'll get better at doing this. So these, and I give handouts, laminated handouts, so physicians like this. So here we can see the type of support and assistance we can give a woman while she's having a contraction. This one's good for resting. This one's kind of hard for resting. Unless this one, you need a wall. I've shown this one. Lean against a wall, men. And then you can support your woman. Again, more active. Oh no, she's got pillows. This is a great position. When you're in active labor, you can rest in between contractions. You can get up. In this position, you can move your hips around. Did you see that hip dance on the skeleton dance on the website? So in that position, the pelvis is like this. So it's going. Do you know what I'm doing when I'm doing this? So as this woman's in this position or in this position, she can bend one knee, drop one hip, drop one hip, drop one hip, drop the other hip, lift one hip, lift one hip, lift both hips, move them around like this. He knows what to do. ঠিক আছে. All right. Nope, where did it go? Here. So back to this. So these are the kinds of things. I've shown you the resting positions where we rest. This is kind of where we're resting and active at the same time, because when the contractions come, it's great to keep moving about, wiggling your hips like this. This is where your friends can apply massage or hot compresses, things like this in between the contractions. There's different things, and we can talk about that later. Okay, then we go from active labor, which is around here, to what we call transition. So transition is anywhere from 8 centimeters to 10 centimeters, somewhere in here, 7.5 to 10, let's say. This is when the cervix is really stretching. The baby is dropped down into the pelvis, and really his head or his bum is really pressing onto the cervix and forcing it open. And in fact, it's the last centimeters wherein the final centimeter of dilation comes from the baby's head. He gets it out of the way. So transition is a very intense time. Who's this? This milk waller? Yeah, Budo, okay. Nah, okay, so transition is a very intense time. This is a time where a lot of women, myself included, will kind of think, I can't do it. That's it. I'm giving up. Women will break down and cry. And it's funny. So we use this word transition, right? So what does transition mean? It means moving from one place to another. You're transiting into another place. Hang on, let me see who this is. Okay. So like many transitions in our life, we kind of avoid it and we kind of hold off, and it's a very hard thing to do. Going through change is a hard thing. And it's not as simple as that. It sounds very philosophical, but it isn't. It's extremely physical. These contractions are pulling down hard and heavy, and your cervix is being stretched to its maximum to where it actually disappears. And all the muscle, as I say, it gets behind the baby's, it gets to the top of the uterus and begins to push the baby out. So what's that? When the baby starts to be pushed out, this is known as second stage of labor, where the cervix, second stage is where the cervix is gone, and now the baby enters the pelvis, and this is the shortest but longest journey of his life, something like 4 inches. So so during labor, I don't know if you guys see this back to front like I do. Hopefully you see it the right way. So you're seeing the baby before, and notice how the baby's changing his head. I've said it before. All this time, the baby he's moving, he's turning his head, he's wiggling, he's lifting his head, and he's crawling, trying to get his way through this little canal. So at this point, the first part of labor, baby is high. And then you can see the difference from here to here. Whoa, what a drop. You can see whereas up high here, there's a lot of room in this sacral area. Here, and imagine that you've got a lot of tissue here. So this is coming full down against that coccyx. The pressure now is upon this tailbone. Thank you. This is what we refer to as being engaged. We refer to it as stations. Yep, stations. Okay, here's a trick. Sorry, I'm going to just, so I said there's a trick in this video. So for my students, there's a password. If you know this password, fried green tomatoes, then there's proof that you watched this video. I've got all kinds of games for you guys. Okay, so rather than the actual serious stuff, like, okay, engagement. So we were talking about this, I think, yesterday and recently. I know, right? I'm cool, yeah. No, I actually haven't grown up. Anywho, oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it keeps you awake, hey? All right, so we refer to this as engagement or descent, right? So it's our station. This is how we define station. So each one of these numbers is is a centimeter. 1, 2, 3, 4 above is negative. 1 centimeter above, 2 centimeters above, 3 centimeters above. Oh, well, this is 3, 4 centimeters above. So this is how we gauge the baby's descent into the pelvis. And when you hear the plus numbers, yay, +1, yay, +2, yeah, +3, I want to go home. I want to quit. No, stop. I don't want to do this anymore. +4, we were talking about this on view. Head is on the peri. Now we start to see the bulging. All this, you start seeing that bulge. So not everybody understands that, but we'll get there. So, yes, I will send these photos for you to look at and understand and absorb what we're talking about. So if you recall too, I made quite a point last time that the baby has a lot of work to do. Actually, can you hit that fan again? Oh, you don't want fans, do you? Yeah, okay. Even in, oh, shut these doors maybe. Even in this AC room, it's still hot. Okay. Last time we were talking about that the baby has a lot of work to do. So this is what, and I mentioned to you before, the cardinal movements of birth. This is where the baby comes through the pelvis. Tucks his head in. Sorry, I got to bundle him up. He'll tuck his head in. Yeah. So he starts entering like this, but as he gets lower in the pelvis, he has to tuck his chin in. Yeah. So this is called flexion. He's flexing. Now he doesn't just a baby won't just decide to go like this. I think we'll sit like this for a while. No, they have to fall down enough. What are they falling down into? The pelvis. So he slides down into the pelvis. He hits this pubic bone. Sorry, this tailbone. And now he has to flex. He has to tuck his chin in. See that? He tucks his chin in order to descend into the pelvis like that. So he's coming in, he's tucking his chin, and he's continuing to do this. Shoulder. You see all the work this kid is doing? You see how much work he has to do? Moving and crawling and shifting. Now he's doing it with help. The uterine contractions are pushing him down and forcing him out and through this hole. And so as he does it, he wiggles. He turns his head back and forth. He wiggles his shoulders around, and then his head is out. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work for a baby. So I'm trying to get the mothers now, all of you who are about to have your babies, think about the baby, the journey for the baby. So, and why am I saying that? Because if you become scared, oh, and when those, there is a point, those contractions are hard ads. And you just, not like this. That looks scared, doesn't it? Here comes a contraction. You let go. As I do this, I keep showing you this. Why? And if I have to talk to you while I'm doing this, it kind of sounds like this. You don't have time for the breath. I want you to breathe and let go. All of that breathing is causing me to let go and let go of my muscles. Otherwise, if I'm scared, I had to look before. Showed you this before the last time, and I'm going to remind you again what happens. You start squeezing your muscles. You become fearful. You start releasing adrenaline. You stop releasing oxytocin, which is the love hormone that causes the contractions to come on. But instead, adrenaline is coming in, fear is coming in, your bodies are gaining tension, your intelligence is getting less. Yep. And you kind of put everything at a hold. And now you've strictly bound your baby with your tight, fearful muscles. That baby can't rotate and move in the pelvis anymore. So I'm encouraging very much to please work on all that. And so the final movement. Baby turns. Okay, this is a double. One shoulder and then the other shoulder. Come on out, shoulder. No, it's shoulders out. Shoulders out. Just the head, but it's not a real one. I want to show you something else. Now, I just showed you all the movement that the baby had to do moving through the pelvis. So do we just have a pelvis, a bony pelvis? Or do we have these things? muscles. So these are all the muscles that the baby's head or butt, whatever is presenting, must move through. Here's the proper opening. A lot of the pressure is smack here, right on the perineum, not here. Isn't that interesting? You see where the pressure is? Here. And see all these round muscles. These are round ligaments. They're meant to stretch and expand and bulge. So these are the muscles that the baby's head will push onto, come back, push onto, come back. We were talking about this yesterday, weren't we? About this coming and going of second stage. So again, first stage is as we're waiting for the cervix to go from 0 or 1 to non-existent, which is about 10 centimeters. And then the show is on. Okay? Meaning now the uterus takes on a whole new role. All this time, the uterus was simply drawing up the cervix, taking it up to the top of the uterus. And now it's ready. There's no cervix. The door is wide open. And now we're pushing the baby out. Or the uterus is anyway. So baby applies pressure here, comes down. And as we were discussing, this is where we get most of the pressure. We'll get to that. Don't you worry. But right now, what I want to show you is the difference between, see these muscles here? So they're all like a sling. Now look at them here. What's happening? You can see them stretching and fanning out. Yeah, before they're kind of all together. Now they're fanning out, thinning out. Someone was asking, how is it possible the vagina is so tight? Well, this is how. This is particular type of ligaments and tissue that will allow this fanning out and thinning of all the tissue that's in the way of the baby descending. So notice how this fans out here. And then if you have the mother lying down, see the difference? So one thing, again, here's the doorway, or the second door. The first door was here, that's the cervix. Here's the second door. So the baby's head is stretching and opening this door. The door is surrounded by muscles, rings of muscle. So as the baby's head comes, and I told you he descends, he flexes his head, meaning he tucks his chin in. And then now he's hit this point, and he can't go any further down. He's hit the tailbone. He now has to, see what he's doing? Extend his head. So I've got a bridge. I need to get under it. So first, tap, I get under it a bit more. Okay, now hang on. I almost got this. So this is extension. So all what we're watching is the baby is crowning. It's called crowning when the baby hits that pelvic floor and starts stretching the perineum so we see the baby's head. This is called crowning. And at this point, what the baby's doing is baby is lifting its chin. And for a beginning bit, and it can be for a long while, believe it or not, they do this thing. They start to come, and then they go back. Next contraction, come again, and then they go back. They come again, and then they go back. So this is like this. Baby's coming down, uterus is pressing from here. Baby hits the tailbone, tucks his head. Hang on. Okay. Hits the tailbone, tucks his head. Hits the tailbone, tucks his head. He negotiates or gets past the tailbone, and now he's got this pubic bone there. Okay, so I tuck my head as far as I can go. Now the only other way I can go is getting underneath this and extending. So at this point, extension, okay, extension, okay, extension, okay, and then now it stays. We can see this baby. I'm not going to keep going like this. Now he's staying, and each push, we're going to see this baby move till the head is born. Now, if that doesn't sound like a long journey for a little critter, I don't know what is. So when we talk about the pain of labor, and that is the discussion, how do we cope with labor? And I did read, I discussed it the last time. But I think the first part of understanding labor and tolerating the pain and getting through it is to be fully in touch and aware of what you are doing. Not just you, actually, I'd rather take the attention off of you. What about this one? This fella, this baby is doing an incredible journey. Incredible journey. If you're concerned about your journey about to come, it ain't nothing compared to what this one's doing. This is your child. No one's going to care about this baby like you do. So, how to deal with the contractions? I think the first thing is each time you have a contraction, number one, stop calling them pains. Not allowed to call them pains anymore. Oh, but let me clarify. I'm not saying don't you dare mention the word pain. I'm not saying that you can't acknowledging the physical, you can't acknowledge the physical sensation. You may, you absolutely may, because although you won't be telling me or any one of us something we haven't heard a million times before. Yeah, you're right. Contractions hurt. My point is, don't wallow in it. Don't focus. My real point is, don't focus on the sensations in your body. Focus on your baby. And when you focus on your baby with every contraction and think about how this person's coming to you, how is this person coming to you? With contractions. With contractions. So every time a contraction comes, oh, okay, I get the big eyes. I read women with the eyes, honestly. But there's a difference between, believe it or not, and they'll wake up and go to work, deal with contraction. A woman like this, tighten it up. Okay. So focus on this little one. When you do, think about your baby. Your body will release these endorphins as I've mentioned, and the oxytocin. Okay. So what this diagram points out too is the difference between an upright position, which means the baby doesn't have to actually extend its head. It's working with gravity. In this way, this baby comes here and he's working with gravity, just kind of pushes open all these muscles and baby comes out. In this way, the baby is working against gravity. So he literally is crawling out. Now, I'm not specifically saying one way is better than another. I have seen very rarely, but only once, actually in the West, in all my Australian practice or non-Indian practice, I had never had a woman, only one woman went right on her back and delivered on her back. I was so shocked. I've never seen anyone do that. But it was her choice. And certainly here I've seen women do that as well. And certainly if anybody who watches Call the Midwife, you'll know. They also always do the sideline, right? Okay. Did that, we do that, and we won't do that. Okay, do I have any, are there any questions at this point?
KL,
Yes.
I need all these props. This is the question and answer also. And this little baby too.
Look, I'll tell you, these are from Ace Graphics. I do have them. I did take picture. Actually, I stole the
If you
pictures
can
in the
just share
first
them
place.
digitally, yeah, I can get them printed and laminated
Yes,
for our
yes.
class,
Well,
the birth class.
I will send you what I've got. It does come from Ace Graphics, and I know the woman who made these. She was a friend of mine. She recently passed away. She's the one. This is the organization from whom I got my childbirth educator certificate, which was linked in with ICEA. I'm already
And also
stealing
that
I'm
pelvis
stealing
prop.
everybody's work. No, but don't worry, I think it's important. You know me. I'm a danger when I walk into the hospitals with a big bag. But if you, somebody was asking yesterday about with that book, Heart and Hands, and which chapter she says this by hook or by crook. You know, you need to get your equipment. Because in some places, I mean, here we're lucky, we can pretty much any of us can get anything. But in the West, it's illegal to just, I just got an order of 12 Foley catheters from Amazon. You can't do that in the West. It's just a crack up that I can buy this stuff online. Mm.
So, KL,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for explaining it this way. I never coordinated it with the, like, like the way you let us see the pelvis and the baby moving. What a good idea. Yeah. I
It's
was
hard to
wondering,
juggle it. I want one
yes,
that stands in the air, one pelvis that just sits there and doesn't move, and then I can move the baby. It's hard to do it with both.
right. No, the shoulder really worked. Yes. Keeping the pelvis on the shoulder was
Hmm.
good idea. Yes.
And I specifically wore black.
Ah,
So I have the white doll. Otherwise, I have the white dress and the black doll.
ah. So I was wondering, can you also can we also talk about the so when the pen so when the head is at -4 or 0, and when we palpate through our fingers, so we also see first we see the right occiput or the left, and then are you able to hear me?
I am. I can just see something's happening with my laptop. It's not charging. So you
Okay.
go on. Like I said, I've got a bunch of kids. I've learned to multitask.
Right. So I was wondering if we can also discuss that. I don't know if we have or we haven't, but like if the position of head inside the pelvis, if we can discuss how to palpate it, whether we are seeing the occiput or we are seeing the anterior fundal. So
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, you're asking about a baby still high in the pelvis, right? Or did you say +4? You said
no,
+4.
No, I said -4. I said -4 to
Oh,
0.
-4. Okay,
When we
so high,
palpate inside.
yep. Okay, so to clarify, what Riddy's asking me, if you recall, I mentioned the stations, which means whether the baby has descended nicely into the pelvis or not. So she's asking about the
Mhm.
baby who's still high, who's the top of his head is still up here. So basically, this baby is not engaged. He's not ready to be delivered. And I wouldn't do it. So a baby like that, he's high, he's not ready to come. Mother would not normally be in labor at -4. Really, when they get around 0 or, around here, this is when
Yes.
and even this descent, even +1, +2, you can get this far down in pregnancy. If you have a woman who's already had a lot of babies, they will sit here practically, I can think of people already online who will feel this pressure, not being there first. Oh, consider that, by the way.
So
So a
what I
high,
was saying was when the head is floating, so we check it by ballotment and we check it at the pubic bone, correct? And then
correct.
when the head is engaged, the head goes down. We can't uh so when we palpate it at the pubic bone, just at the level of the
Yep.
pubic area
Mhm.
from the top, from the
Yeah.
so the mother is lying down and we
Yep.
ask her to her top and then we palpate it there. So we check for the ballotment and then we check the baby's palpable. So when that all is done, so that is done until 0 station. So when we see the baby's head is uh, now not engaged and not there is no ballotment now, then we go under and see. Correct? This is how
Well, I don't. No, I don't really do that. I just kind of don't care. Um, okay, so if I have a woman in labor and the baby is still blottable, which is very rare. In fact, I can't think of it too many whose babies, it kind of sounds a little familiar that a baby was high. But +4 seems awful high. So, and are you actually asking about a woman who's come into the hospital?
-4, you mean?
Sorry?
-4, you mean, is awfully high.
-4, but is she saying that the woman came to hospital?
for
Like,
us
why
it
would
does.
I check?
For us they do come to the hospital, correct? Like
Okay.
yeah, for us for us they might come for an amniotic fluid leak or even for a regular checkup where we check the ballotment. So we do everything in the hospital, right?
Okay.
In my
Well,
case,
not me. So
yes, yeah.
if I have a ballottable baby, I'm just assuming this baby's high and he's not in the pelvis, so why push him? Eventually he will enter into the pelvis. Now, if I have a woman who comes in with leaking membranes, well, then again, it depends. Is it, and this came up I know it came up in a discussion. Oh, prolapsed membrane, uh, prolapsed cord. So yeah, you can have women come in with a leak, a high leak or a low leak, a little leak or a splash. And indeed, if the baby was still ballottable and well, you couldn't be a ballottable baby and have a good splash, could you? You could maybe be ballottable with a high water leak. I'm just trying to think of scenarios. All right, so a woman comes to me, her baby's still high. She's just here. She just showed up and I'm checking her baby's high, I can blot it. Okay, I'll write it down and see you later. Another woman comes in, she's -4. Her baby's bloatable. She has a high water leak. I'll pay attention to that woman. I will not examine her, right? Okay. So this is, if the woman starts with ruptured membranes, then from that point onward, we really minimize our internal exam. So I won't understand the descent nor the dilation at all. I will get an idea of descent, of course, from the allotment, which will tell me not descended very much. So this one I might be a little more concerned about. But for me, I would only keep an eye on the baby's heart rate and keep an eye and monitor the mother, see what she's doing. Is she going to go into labor? Is the water still leaking? Did the leak start to clean, seal up, and has it healed itself and it's not leaking any further? Again, to dispel any myths, there's no such thing as a dry birth. Just because the amniotic fluid bag has broken does not mean that the water just rushes out and there's no more water. The placenta continues to produce amniotic fluid at 1.5 liters a day. So I wouldn't worry about that. A lot of people put this fear into women. So, and also doctors believe this fear too. So I don't, we don't.
Question
Women
here.
come, yep.
This is again a case. My sister who weeks and above, and
Yeah.
she was given because she was tired of her pregnancy, and the doctor convinced her to just get a gel onto her cervix, like just to soften the cervix. But then she stayed back in the hospital. Like she got admitted, and the whole night she couldn't sleep because of her neighbor in the ward. So
Oh,
she was in early labor since then, little bit. So in the night, the next day went evening, and still she was having these contractions coming in. Later on, she wished to sit in the pool, in the hot water, and she felt better. While at that time she was, nicely effaced, like around 80 to 90% effaced, and the doctor was kind of waiting. But later, she wasn't able to handle it, so she requested for some like some medical support. So she took a pitocin, and the labor were like the contractions were very very frequent. But whenever the doctor checked, this doctor said that the baby is very high. While she just was coping with the contractions, she was bleeding. There was no water break then, and later the doctor decided that let's go and do the forceps. So just yesterday, my sister was saying that, what would the midwives do if the contractions are so good and, it's all the dilation is done, but the baby's head is up? Would she use a forceps? Because she had a forceps birth.
it's kind of unusual because usually you would not use forceps if the baby had not already entered the pelvis, right? So that's kind of that's a very risky, dangerous forceps extraction. Well, in this scenario, if we say somebody who's -4, that's way high in the pelvis. So, and we're talking the top of the head. So there's a difference between a baby being the presenting part being -4 and just being stuck. So if you have a ballotable head that's moving, there's something else preventing it from even getting into the pelvis. It's not even entering in the pelvis. Now, the scenario that you're mentioning, Sneha, sounds very similar to the shoulders getting caught and not on the pubic bone, not on the way out, on the pubic bone, getting into the pelvis, not getting out from the other side of the pelvis. Yeah, that's a shoulder thing, but the shoulder's getting into the pelvis. It's getting high up there. So Sometimes it's the baby's shoulder. Oh, so we do certain things. So,
Gail, can I ask?
yep. Yep.
Gail, in one of the recent births, the lady has good contractions around 8-9 hours, and the cervix is also dilated, and the hospital said that the baby has not descended down. So they again waited for another 4-5 hours, 6 hours, and then they did the C-section. Only on the grounds that the baby has released the meconium and it has gone into the baby's mouth now, and baby has also not descended downwards and fixed in the cervix. In spite of all good labor and everything, the normal was not done. So is it like that the baby remains floating also when the cervix is dilated? How does it happen? Or
No,
it was a false information?
I think that's a, well, for sure, that's false information, a lot of false information, but it's a little bit different. Or at least I understand it different. So back to Sneha. So she's, hang on. Couple of things. So having a high head that's volatile, meaning I'm moving it, not even the head has entered the pelvis. Oh shoot. So Sneha, you were saying, what would a midwife do? Well, no, okay. Oh, that's what I was starting to say. Now I remember. Okay, I'll get back to you, Cindy. So the baby's here. Here's my pubic bone. There's the top of my pubic bone. Here's the other side of it. Yeah, so that's the extent that I've got. So the baby is floating. He's up here. It's not even in the pelvis. So Rudy's talking about being able to do this. Ding dong, ding dong. So what do? Get his shoulder, knock it off. Get him by the shoulder, wiggle him. And get his head, wiggle that too when you're, instead of just banging him back and forth. You can play with him. Come on, get in there. So again, this is quite high. I'm not actually, I can't think of anybody who got, I can't think of anyone who got stuck at -4. Certainly by the, okay. Actually, the times I've had such a thing is actually the bags of water starts building up and it becomes tight. And sometimes you can have a bag of waters in front of the presenting part that gets so full of water that actually the water pressure pushes the baby out of the pelvis. So that you'll see, it happens on, occasionally you will see that. And what you'll notice is, you'll even notice that this glowing moon, right? Haven't you seen that with this moon kind of coming out at second stage, and I'm just standing back. No, I'm gonna get a face full of it. But sometimes that will actually happen up higher in the pelvis. And it is the amnion fluid that's getting in the way of the baby descending. And those are the times that I have actually broken waters. And then the baby came quickly. Subir, okay, that question is a lot of lies. So I think your first thing was the baby was too big or the baby was too small. The same old. Oh, but actually, this is how it happens. This is the cascade of interventions. So as soon as you introduce any intervention, you end up creating a whole cascade of interventions. So what did you say? Oh, the prostaglandin gel. It starts with the prostaglandin gel. Why? Why can't we wait? Was there a reason for not waiting? No. What was the next thing? Did she take a pill? Something under a tongue? So. Why are they doing that? Because they think this, right? Failure to progress. So they've decided to induce her, either by artificially rupturing the membranes too soon. So maybe they'll give vacuum extraction. As soon as you introduce these different interventions, they lead to more interventions. Rarely ever do they lead to the birth. See this? Either you induce it.
What the return is not clear, it's not visible by the chart. So if you can just place a pic, we can at least read what is there on the chart. Either you read it so we know what you're referring to.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to, I will get this right. Okay, so when you induce labor, so first off, they started off with a prostaglandin gel, and then they start the drips. So sometimes, very rarely, you can actually induce it and have a birth this way. But usually, induction, you may get the strong contractions, but then you require pain medication. Strong contractions, maybe it leads to artificial rupture of membranes, which usually is part of the program. Then they put the mother on the drip. The drip also means they require pain relief. Go ahead, Roddy. Oh, good girl, you're the best. All right, let me see if I can do this. Please help me. Let's do this. There. Yay. Okay. All right. You see it now, yeah? Yay. Thank you. Thank you, Radhika, so much. Okay.
Yes, we can read now.
All right. So you can see the induction of labor. So now we're not talking about labor starting naturally, and I don't believe I heard you mention labor starting naturally. But even if it did start naturally, a lot of times they will induce you. They will start to set up the drip anyway. I actually can't read this, so I will look at the big one. So when you induce, perhaps it will lead to birth. Right? And of course, it depends how they induced you. So here in India, now the prostaglandin gel, that was back in my mom's days, they used to do that, but they stopped using it. Otherwise, they just went straight for the induction, the drips, right? The oxytocin drip. And I think that's pretty common procedure in the hospital, that as soon as you walk in, they will put the drip up for you. Sometimes it'll lead to, well, not sometimes, it always leads to strong contractions. And sometimes that will give you the birth that we're after. But normally it will lead you to request pain relief. So the pain relief either comes as an epidural. So that is the needle in the middle of the back in the spine, and they're injecting a narcotic into the spinal fluid area. So it's a very fine area that they infiltrate with an anesthetic. So you can't generally speaking, they aim for numbing you from the waist down, but sometimes it can numb you from the neck down. The issue with epidural is once you've got it in, you're pretty immobile. You don't move around. Oh, and that's something I wanted to mention for both you, Sneha and Surabhi, that the hospitals here in India are not conducive to labor. At least the ones that I've seen, and even in Bengaluru, I saw, you have these massive labor wards of 30 to 50 people in a ward. No one can labor like this. No one can naturally give birth. And even what you're saying, next in the bed, in the same ward, somebody's moaning all night. This isn't and other people's family members are there. Nah. This doesn't actually work. So they'll ask for pain relief. Here, I suppose they would routinely do a rupture of membranes. I know they routinely catheterize a woman as soon as she comes in. So when you tell me these things, I'm not sure if these women, oh, so Radhika, she's the best. Look at this. Oh my God, thank you so much. Okay, we'll get back to those. Thank you. So you'll see Radhika's actually shared all those photos. So it's wonderful. So my understanding is they will artificially rupture the membranes if they're already there. I mean, if they haven't been ruptured already, and put on the drip and the Foley catheter, as I said. Yeah. All right, now that we've introduced an epidural or narcotic drugs, what's that going to do? So we put up a drip to increase your contractions, whether or not your cervix is ready or your baby's in position. These contractions are mechanical. They come in on a timer, right? You dial a contraction, which is not what your body usually does. Your uterus will work with your baby. Okay, this is a stupid position. When you move your head, I'll get stronger. Okay, good position. Let's go. We're going. Okay, you did it stupid again. I'll wait for you. Hospital doesn't wait. Okay, we're going. I don't care what you're saying. No, you're coming. No, we're going. We're going. I'm not waiting for you. You're just going to get your shit together, or you bet you will go into distress. Look at this. Epidural, reduced mobility. What's that about? You need to be active and moving around. We were showing you that pelvic moving around. Help the baby move, but you're strapped to a bed. There's belts strapped around you, an IV hook in your arm, and another tube into your bladder from your urethra. So all this can lead to mother's distress, certainly fetal distress. Sometimes this leads to failure, what they term failure to progress. So their definition of failure to progress is way different from mine. Okay, so once you've got the baby in distress, and it actually goes hand in hand anyway, they will tend to want to do the electric fetal monitoring, which is constant monitoring so you've got one belt around your belly to monitor your contractions, another belt around your belly to monitor the baby's heartbeat. And that's not including the other tubes coming in and out. So at this point, we've led into, I move this over. That's how I do it. So once you get into this area, look at this. Reduced mobility, fetal distress, and everything runs back through here. Now we have to look, okay, baby's in trouble. Now we have to get this baby out quickly. Yeah. Exactly. It's a stupid scenario. So it's really dumb. You put oxytocin in, so the contractions come in like a military officer. And then your baby objects. I'm sorry, I don't like this. I need time, man. Can I have some time? Oh, wait a minute. You're taking too long. Let's put more. And they just top it up. They keep augmenting labor. We're just going to give you something to speed up the labor. Oh, you also said something, Sergey. They could see there was meconium in the baby's mouth. How? That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. How did they see the baby's mouth when the presenting part was so high? If they're going to tell you there was an ultrasound, that's a lie. I mean, maybe there was, but they're not going to find meconium in the mouth. And again and again and again, I ask you guys, critical thinking, use it. Stop and think what the doctor is saying to you. And I know how it feels. Now I'm an old lady, but I know what it feels like when you're young and you might be pretty and you're talking to men who want nothing more than to humiliate and degrade you, thinking this makes them a better person. So you feel kind of sheepish calling them on their shit. Call them. Meconium in the mouth. How did you see that? Where did you see the meconium in the mouth? Oh no, I didn't mean that. And he'll follow up. I didn't mean it was in the mouth. I mean, it could be in the mouth. Oh, so it's not in the mouth. Okay. What are the chances it's in the mouth? He's going to lie to you again. You sure about that? Keep challenging them. Don't be shy. Call them on their crap. Yeah. So cesarean birth, premature birth. My God, that's the game here, isn't it? The game here in India is to deliver these babies prematurely, 36, 37 weeks by cesarean. Why? There's actually no single medical indication. But they throw in as many tests as they can to find the problem to declare we must have a cesarean. I know, it's just ridiculous. It's evil. So here we end up with a huge level of premature births. And you know what? They also start giving big babies, they start giving the mothers steroids at around 34, 35 weeks to prematurely mature the baby's lungs so they can Caesar them out prematurely. It's just really gotten insane. I don't understand how people have stopped thinking across the board. So you have these babies are actually delivered at 37 weeks prematurely and go straight to the NICU. And what does that mean? Separation of baby and the mother. And we do know that when the baby and the mother stay together, this is the best for their future, for both the baby, for the mother. This is the best way for the rest of their future. So why do we have to screw it up here? We've got a lot of time ahead of us to screw everything up later, and we're doing a great job of it. Yes, I just saw an amazing movie. Well, yeah, India's pretty. What blows my mind is how they outright lie to you. You know, they stone-faced lie. Again, I was telling you about watching this whole stupid thing of Hitler and the Third Reich and its march through everything. And how it was known. Hitler was saying the most outrageous crap that made no sense whatsoever. But it whipped a whole nation up, and not just one nation. Nation after nation after nation. He whipped them up into such a mad furor with bullshit, absolute bogus stuff he made up. And not just about the Jews, then he marches into everybody else's land. What the hell? I know, and this is what we're doing in obstetrics now. He got away with it before. Damn it, we can do it again. Right? And we're not far off it. Hey, you got your people coming into hospitals. You've got babies ripped out of their mothers. We know that the placenta is being used for other experiments and stem cell research, and the cord blood is taken for cosmetics and as well as so many things. And it's just, after seeing that documentary, it kind of shocks me. Yeah, we didn't learn. Hey, we didn't learn that this madness of telling you outright bogus lies to your face, sometimes hitting you saying it, and we accept it. Just like in Germany, Poland. How did freaking Czechoslovakia get caught up in all this? I don't know how you guys managed. What are you still doing here? Lucky to be alive, some of you. But he got away with it. Nobody stopped him. They helped him. They helped him. No, gotta stop. The only way to do it is stand up, speak the truth. Truth is the way. Truth is the way. So call it. This is garbage for babies. It's garbage for mothers. It's garbage labor. So I do not do any of these things. I don't care if the baby's high. I let the labor do it. The only time I give it down about practically anything is if the baby responds to it. If I see the baby's heartbeat starting to drop, then I'm looking for what's going on here. A uterus will not just keep contracting and contracting and contracting if it's going to just push a baby into a wall. It's going to eventually slow down and get tired. And it's going to stop for hours, maybe days. Okay, we're back on. Okay, finally. Again, I say it. It works together. If I'm waiting and waiting and waiting and contractions are going and going and going and I see no descent at all. Ooh, okay. So we did have a story like this not so long ago. Yeah, we went 14 hours, second stage, pushing, pushing, pushing. And this, so it was a long, dragged out first stage. I think it was 4 or 5 hours, days, sorry. Again, the family, the in-laws, oh my God, it was hellish. The whole social situation was horrible. The mother was, yeah, had issues, was preeclamptic fully. And the stress of the situation was very difficult. But she soldiered through it. She just kept going, kept going, kept going. And then finally, she's pushing for 12, 14 hours. And I look at she's asking me, people are asking, okay, look. And again, this baby, man, never skipped a beat. She was pushing, and there were times, man, she was pushing really hard. She worked hard. She worked hard. She tried. And this baby was fine the whole time. But after like 12, 14 hours, I said to her, look, maybe we go for another 2. I think I was going to give her 2 hours. We'll go, I think it was 9. I said, we'll go to 11 and see what happens. Then we'll reassess if maybe we need to go in. And she just looked at me and said, why don't we just go now? Fair enough. So she's the only one I felt here that I felt actually got stuck. But it was still emotionally stuck. But it was just not coming down. Baby was in good health, and something that I want to remember when I transport, if I'm going to take someone to hospital, I want to take a healthy mother and healthy baby. I don't want to wait for the mother or baby to be unhealthy and then take them in. So something to remember, people. When you transfer to hospital, There's a few things you need to think about. Number one, most transfers are never emergencies. We have time. You need to take in consideration the distance that is there for you. Take in condition where the emotions, the cause of that. Yes, I think so. I absolutely think so. Because there is no other indication for why the baby did not descend. She came down to like +1 station, maybe +2, and did not budge, didn't budge. And I would be in there for a few contractions and you know, I'll mess with babies. So sometimes you will see that they're doing this. So I'll try to encourage them. No, not that way, this way. No, not that way, this, do this. You know, I'll try to work with them. And I was doing that with her and she's a lovely baby too. We could always play with her, even in the, you know, before we were playing with her, talking to her. She would giggle, she would laugh in the, you know, you could feel her giggling if we tickled her. The baby I'm talking about. So she was fine and dandy, but I did not want to take too much time. We have to drive an hour, over an hour, maybe an hour and a half by the time the ambulance shows up and we load up and we start moving. It can easily be an hour and a half to 2 hours by the time we get there. The drive is a very unpleasant one. If it's daytime traffic, it's worse. Nighttime is almost equally worse because they can drive faster. And that can be scarier. So I take all this in consideration, plus take into consideration if you're taking them to any hospital in India, or for me, if I take them to a hospital here, I'm looking for a cesarean anywhere. If I go to a hospital, yeah, this is my Mayapur situation. We have to transfer to Krishnanagar, which is really only about 45 minutes away. But they've put a lot of speed bumps on this road here. And when you hit the NH3, there's always roadworks any time of day. You never know what's going to show up on a road here, eh? So you never know if you take a detour or what. And it's a rocky, you hold your women down. You hold the women down on the beds. Yeah, so they don't hit the wall. What's they say the transfers? Oh, so even after all of this ordeal and you get them to the hospital, they're going to undergo major surgery, major abdominal surgery. I know it happens to everybody, but it's still major abdominal surgery. So I personally treat it like that. I want a mother to be in her healthiest state when she arrives at a hospital. And no doubt, obviously, if I'm taking her to a hospital in a labor, she's been in labor for a while. And the other thing to keep note of is doctors don't necessarily show up straight away. So they may keep you laboring away, as they did with this same mother. They left her laboring for another 7 hours before the doctor ever showed up. And at this point, there was an abruption and the baby did start to go into distress. But all's well that ends well. She's still a beautiful baby. I want to take her home with me. Another one. Oh, okay. So as we go down this list of interventions, the other follow-up from these types of things. Notice this. Notice all these lines, hey, that they connect. Reduced morbidity increases the cesarean rates. Electronic fetal monitoring increases cesarean rates. Interesting, that. Or another mechanical method of delivering the baby. Narcotic drugs lead the baby to having breathing difficulties. Meaning that the baby has not shown signs of distress. Thank you. Their baby is not showing signs of distress yet. I don't want to see the mother worn down to the bone, right? That she's actually, like, I've seen mothers who are physiologically as well as emotionally exhausted, and that's different from the woman who doesn't want to go into labor. I'm exhausted. I can't handle this pain anymore. It ain't that. These are women who've been laboring for a long time. They themselves have been physically, these women are in second stage. So they're physically this time working hard. They got the contraction, they got the pain, and now they got to work. So depending how they lead into this, sometimes you get them pretty darn exhausted. So I don't want them like that. I don't want them so exhausted. Now, if I have a hospital 15 minutes away from me, I have time to play with things, right? Number one, 15 minutes, it's not a long journey, and it's not a harsh journey. It's a cruisy journey. If you have a great working partnership, man, this is going to be a breeze. This is the best thing. I can stay at home longer. But when I transfer, I just want to make sure the mother is still healthy and the baby has not yet, like in this case, the baby hadn't shown signs of distress yet. It took another, 9 hours if I include, how long it took us to get there and when we made the call to go. So it took that doctor 9 hours to show up in the hospital, and we called ahead. Yeah. So mother isn't physiologically exhausted. She's still in good condition, and the baby is still in good condition in this particular case. But it had been such a long time for labor. I mean, I've seen 12, 14 hours pushing also, and that alone doesn't stop me. But when I see a woman that's been pushing for 12 to 14 hours, I'm watching her put her effort, her guts, her whole guts into it. She's doing what she can do. And we know what the obstacles are. They are people in her house. The obstacles were people who we couldn't shut them up and keep them out. They just kept coming in. And she was just like, get out. So I just felt like we weren't getting anywhere. And again, I wanted to deliver them both in good condition. So we made that call. Okay, furthermore, again, paying attention to all these lines and what they mean and where they lead to. Very little. You have this one simple method going straight to the birth, but nope. We mostly see this cascade. So from the cesarean birth, all these things lead to something. We have breathing difficulties. Why? Because of the narcotic drugs. They're narcotic. They put you to sleep and your baby. And you know what? It doesn't actually stop the pain. Can you roll me another joint, please? Or pass me that pipe. So you just gotten high as a kite. You can't really speak a lot of words, which shuts you up, which is what your nurses want you to shut up. Sadly, however, your baby is now getting high with you, only not like at that. You don't want him high at this time. You want your baby pumping. You want an active baby. Why? We've talked about it. You want this baby to come out. The hell was that? This whole birth process is traumatic for a baby for a reason. Wake up, dude. Wake up. Get ready for it. You're going to war. I'm going to what? Yeah. You're going to come out and you better breathe. you're gonna get your heart a pumping, your toes can start happening. How does it go? Like heart starts a beating, toes start to stop, fingers start clapping. Get your baby up and breathing. Otherwise, he's dopey. He's not gonna cry. You know they want him to cry. If they don't, they'll take him and beat him. Then they take him off. They'll require resuscitation. We've seen that. They have delayed suck latching to the breast, develop jaundice, which is not a big deal. And then problems with breastfeeding, separation from the mother, all these things that we have to work on. It's not over yet, postpartum. Okay. All right, so I won't go further. I was going to try to cover the third stage. I'll just say, so we did first stage of labor, which is getting into labor. Hang on, can I do this? I'm going to open it up. Anyway, for now, just pick it up. Oh, no. Sorry. Ah. I got it. Yay. Okay, you can see this, I hope. So as I say, what was it? Yeah, thank you. Breaking it down in stages. So this bit here, from 1st to 4 centimeters, this is the early part of labor. Don't take it so seriously. We're not going to count it. So this can take anywhere from 6 hours, an hour, to 5 days. Up to you. It's all cool and cruisy. Don't stress out, people. Do not stress out at this point. Yeah? Chill, relax, cuddle up. But mostly sleep, rest. Okay? So that's the early labor. Active labor. Now we're in it. Early labor can come and go, but we know when it stays and it doesn't disappear. It just keeps going. And it gets stronger and stronger. And so it goes from 1 centimeter to 10 centimeters or no centimeters. And that's first stage. Second stage is when the baby actually leaves the uterus and enters the vagina. Now the baby is actually coming into the vagina. And people, the good news is, as the baby enters the vagina, and the vagina, yeah, it does. It stretches. Guess what happens? The vagina gets shorter. It gets shorter. Less distance to go. So second stage is pushing that baby out of the, celebrate. And then this is the baby coming. This is the baby coming to you, coming to your arms. Think of it this way. Don't keep thinking these other things. Really what's happening in all its blood and gore is your baby is coming to you, you know? So that's second stage. That's where you stop relaxing the whole way. You still got to relax. Now you're going to do something. Now you get to I know my neighbors love me. Yeah, and your neighbors will too. Now you got to work with your body still yet. So second stage is the baby actually coming. So are we finished? Oh, wait a minute. What did I say? First stage? Second stage? Mwah. Third stage. You ain't done yet, baby. You got more work. But this one's way easier. This one's way easier. It might not feel like it, but it really, really, really is. The placenta. Third stage is the delivery of the placenta. How long is that going to take? Anywhere from 10 minutes to 48 hours. Really? Again? Yes, again. Just let go, people. Let go. You have no control. Just let it go. All right? You can hang on to it for 48 hours, but you really don't have to. You can hang on to it for 4 hours. You still don't have to. But it's possible without any issue. Except we're bored waiting. But we'll get into that the next time around. Are there any questions for this session? Anything you'd like to? Yes, Survi, tell me.
Yeah. Ma'am, in the third stage, once the baby is out and we
Yeah.
are put on the chest for crawling,
Yeah.
and the placenta is not delivered yet because, as you told, it can take around 48 hours. So what we have to do? Because the lady would be bleeding, the blood would be coming out. So how does it work out?
Okay, so I don't necessarily do the chest crawling thing. I just leave it to the mothers to instinctively do what they want to do. Okay, so and on that point, I have seen a few times where it's the men who are very ideological and they're coming and they're pushing their wives into things that their wives didn't actually, it wasn't from them. As an example, I had one water birth where it was really the father who was doing stuff. And, the father was catching, and I was out of the pool. But I did notice that, oh, I was behind the mother. And as the mother was reaching for her baby, but the husband kept pulling the baby away from her because he wanted the baby underwater, right? He had an idea of what he wanted it to do. Yeah, we can do cramp bark. It's my favorite. Birth root, motherwort. So I've seen these types of events where there's other people there, even the mother herself, that may approach the birth with an ideal, a fantasy. So I try to break that. I try to break away from that and prepare the women just to be instinctual. So, as we've mentioned before in these groups, and I'll show eventually again, is that there is a system of which it's been noted, it's mentioned in obstetric books that there's a system in which women greet their babies after birth. It's very rare for a woman to pass out a baby, anyone, have a baby, and just scoop this baby up to her arms. It's very rare. Nobody actually picks up their baby, puts them down at the lower part of their belly, and waits for them to crawl up to their navel. I've never seen a woman instinctively do such a thing. I have
Hold
seen.
up, we missed a lot. You froze.
Oh, sorry. I'll try that again. So, I have never ever taken a baby and just put it down on the lower part of the mother's belly. And I've never seen I leave a woman to deal with her baby herself, unless I have to. Like if they're standing up, I got to catch a baby. If the baby's underwater, I may be the one lifting the baby out. So many situations you might be the one catching. What's my point of that? Catching the baby. What was my point on this?
You were saying you put the baby on the breast of the mother, and
I
you don't
don't.
crawl.
Correct. Wait. I mean to say I don't do anything. I actually just put the baby right down between her legs. So if it just depends what position the mother's in. If she's on the land, she gives birth, I catch the baby and put it down on the ground. Sometimes there's certain positions where the mother's lying down. Here in India, some women lie on their back. So I will pick the baby up and put the baby on the mother's chest. But I will never, and you will never see naturally that a woman would pick up her baby and put her on the lower part of her abdomen and wait for the baby to crawl to the breast. This is probably something that nurses or doulas want to see, this reflex, and they've decided this is what we're going to do. At least they step forward and do immediate skin to skin. But they're still trying, I don't want to direct this process. And as I say, it is recognized in obstetric books. There's a process in which women greet their children. Their first thing is nothing. Women don't just generally grab their babies. They just like that. Kind of shocked. Oh, maybe there's a crying baby. Usually there's people around going, oh, oh. But the woman is just like, oh my God. Baby can be, this is horrible. I never want to do this again. Or they're, what the hell was that? And they'll hold their breath. I've seen how many times have I come into a birth? Often ones I've missed. Everybody's yelling. The one that pops in my head straight away. I walk into a birth. It was a breech birth I missed. Due to JM sabotage. So I show up. Somebody leans out the room, quick, the baby's been born, baby's not breathing, blah, blah, blah. I thought everything was fine. I heard the baby was born, but I'm taking my time. But they lean out, yell at me. So, okay, hurry into the room. Soon as I walk into the room, 4 people start yelling at me. It's just, they're all telling me what's happened. They're all in a flap. They're all in anxiety. There's Jane on the floor with her new baby, who's blue like Krishna, and husband is in shock too. So I just, as everybody's yelling at me, I just walk in and just, all right, everybody, shut up. Hey, Jane, say hi to your baby. That was it. Jane looked down and said, Hari Bo. Her husband said, Hari Krishna. They started rubbing the baby. She takes her breath and pinks up straight away. Everybody in the room's holding their breath. This isn't the first time. I've seen this many times. You guys can breathe. It's okay. Baby's in shock, not you. Breathe for your baby, say hello. And that's my main thing. If I see a blue baby or a baby flat or needing resuscitation or anything, I like daddy's voice. Daddy's voice is the best voice. Dad, say hello. You'd be surprised. You'll be surprised to see that baby will respond to the father's, how you doing? They never listen to us, do they? They just listen to the fathers. Yeah, so women shock. You know what the next thing they do? Do you think they grab the babies and run? You know what they do? Isn't this weird? It's documented. Where's my baby? I'm not holding him. Pretend I'm not holding this one. They touch the baby with their fingertips. Fingertips. And then the palms. and then they lift them. But I also think they know their dads. I have some stories that they, even one where this kid, it was a casual relationship that this kid was created. And so the parents were apart for 6 months. So she kind of conceived, let him know, and then moved north. And the father only showed up in labor, and he stayed out of the room the whole time. And it wasn't until after the baby was born and maybe 15, 20 minutes later. And it's, there was a room full of chickens, meaning women, that were just clucking away. And this dad guy comes to the door. You okay? Who are you? No kidding. Baby disconnects. Who is that? So this is what I do for resuscitation. Oh, the herbs. No, not yet. Oh, I did. I shouted. I just said them quickly. I'll write them out. Motherwort. So I don't like to force the situation or force a dialogue, force a TV scene. I just wanted to unravel as naturally as possible. I think it's beautiful like that, actually. And, this whole process can happen very quickly too. Or it can be as slow as I just did it. Babies can start screaming on the perineum. Makoa. I always say this, sorry, my grandson, I always say how as soon as he was born, my first one, he's underwater too. This is a water birth, but man, as soon as that mouth was free, it was screaming. And he's still angry. He was not impressed. He's 21 years old now and he's still not impressed. But he's a lovely boy. Don't tell him I said that.
KL,
Yes,
can I tell you a
please,
short story about
please.
intonation from the father's voice?
Yes.
When I was at training for the doula, like
Mhm.
space holder, I went to Suriname to do a birth. And the midwife there, he was a man. I still don't know how to call him. But he worked in how do you call it, in construction. That was his work, building houses and stuff. And then his woman, she got pregnant from their son. But he was always busy with the son, playing music, talking with the baby and stuff like that. And then the moment she was gonna give birth, he came into the hospital dirty because he came from work in constructions, and they sent him home. They
Oh,
sent him home because they say you're dirty, you cannot be here. And he went home, he washed, shaved, and went. And then when he wanted to go back to the hospital, they say, "Yeah, your son is born, but he is not well. So you need to come very quickly." So he rushed to the hospital and saw the baby, uh, and he started to talk with the baby, and then the baby was like a miracle, blooming up, opened his eyes, cried, did the color changed, everything was okay because it's the tonation in the voice of the father's bass. And then he was so angry at the time. He told them there, "I'm gonna do this practice because not ever you're gonna send a father away." So he
wow.
so he became like a midwife. And
Far out.
yeah, for everything you said, I don't know if I think everywhere on earth, um, they take women's birthrights away. And it's such a shame because if we don't gonna have better births, like I say the last time, we're not gonna have stronger communities because
Exactly.
they need to stop. I don't know. Can you come and work here with them? Oh my God. And these things, like you said, um, it's they go into the time from the woman that the body needs to process the birth. They come with interventions all the
Mm.
time, and yeah, it's really a shame. I thought it was like here for because we're in the West that it's better, but it's not. I listen to you, and it's yeah, sadly it's the same everywhere. I
You know,
was
I'm
at this
hearing this too. I'm hearing this.
I was at this lady, one of the births before I went to Bali, and I was there, and she birthed for 48 hours. And the only thing she needed was me to tell her sometimes it's okay. Your body is doing okay. And I was uh, there was like somebody who's gonna help the postpartum. She called me, said they're very young people. She know what she wants, but I think they need like the support. And it wasn't even that. Yeah, I met her like 6 weeks before she gave birth with the husband.
Mhm.
So the day I was there, I was like, I'm gonna stay here because she knew what she wanted, but she wanted to hear that it was okay. And that was the only thing. 48 hours. Then the midwife came in. I went to put on the bath and everything. She went to the woman in the room. She said, if you need another thing, then you can tell me. Tell me if you need some medication. I was like, but yeah, when she left, the woman told me, and I was like, no, this is not good. But okay. Apart from that, she was away, and then like we told her, you can come back at 2 o'clock. I think we'll be there. And she was like, what do you know? I was like, okay, it's okay. And then she came in without the bags and stuff, and then we see the contractions, like the belly was going to and she was, oh, now I have to run away for my bag, and I had to go with her because the woman, she opened the door with her phone, and now she couldn't. So I was like, yeah, but they yeah, I think they don't have respect for the birthing process. Everything needs to be like quick, and then the woman was she gave birth in the water, and then she was like, yeah, now I have to push on your belly because the placenta needs to get out. I say no, you're not gonna do that. I say hands off and leave them alone. Leave them alone so that they can make other oxytocin, and that they can be together, and leave the woman alone. Her body will do it. And she was like, yeah, but no. I say no, leave the and can you go out the way? I want to make some pictures. I was very fiery. Yeah, because it was, and then she said, yeah, I'm gonna put my fingers in when she was gonna push, and then I'm gonna help you. I said, no, hands off.
That's what they
Leave
do
her
here.
alone.
They
She was
all
like,
manually remove placentas here.
no, I said, don't do it. Because what happened before this started, she said, yes, I'm gonna feel, and I want to see if you're dilated fully. But the woman was like, okay, I don't want it, but you can do it because I feel, you see that she had reflections to push. So I was like, why? Okay, but she felt. And then when she took her fingers out, the waters broke.
Mm, mm.
But then she said, but no, it didn't break. But when she took the fingers out, she said to the woman, it can be that the water is going to break because I fell. And then the woman said, if you told me before, then I would have said, no, you cannot feel. So it's also communication. KL, you need to communicate first. You're gonna say, if I'm gonna feel, it can happen that your water will break. So you
Mm.
give the woman the decision to make her own choice.
Generally speaking, we don't break waters at all.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was like, but these are the things they do here in Holland a lot. And then from the one intervention, you go into another very quick.
Yep. That's how it works. That's the
So
system. Once you interfere,
yeah,
it just keeps going.
I want to ask all the mothers in India there, trust your intuition and your body, trust the process, and listen to KL. So I'm going
Yeah.
out.
But doesn't Holland have a tradition of midwives? Sweden and
Holland,
Holland,
um,
do you not have more midwives there?
you have,
Yeah.
but
No, she's asking, Newton is asking you, Mill, if you have
mhm.
midwives in Holland. I mean,
Yeah,
Netherlands.
yes, you have.
And they
Also,
Yes,
actually have a
I
good home birth system too, don't you?
they have a good home birth system, but you know what's happening now? Because a lot of them are very scared by hospital. So they attempt to, when there is something not right, and maybe it's not medical reason, they say very quickly to the mother, yeah, then you go to the hospital.
Oh, that is so sad. I'm
Yeah.
just, I've just, all my idea of birth in Holland has just shattered. I used to think
Mhm.
it's very good
Yeah,
there.
they
Yeah,
were. They were in the
they
80s and
were.
in
Yeah,
the 80s, 70s, 80s, they were the model. They were the model.
yeah,
Also, England had the same thing, and they had these purpose-built ambulances that you could actually do a cesarean in the ambulance. So
Wow.
they would pull up to the house.
yeah. You know what's happening, KL now?
Yeah,
Women are changing. The
yeah,
world is changing. Women are changing.
I
We
guess
we
so.
we- yeah, we have more voices and we know what we want. We make our choices. We know what we need, but the system doesn't change.
Is it
They
also
want
that
they
more
don't
women
want
are
to change
working?
stuff.
You
Here.
think you think it's also that more women are working nowadays
Yes,
compared to
yes,
earlier?
of course.
Could
Yes.
that be the change that is there?
Yeah, I think it's like sometimes people think they're superior also to women,
Mm.
but also in the work they do. So when a woman comes in, like a black woman, for instance, here, they already are like, no, she's stronger. She don't need pain medication. Mostly black women come with their communities, with their mothers, their sisters, their brothers. They bring them in because that's what they need. Because we are like a community. We're
Mm.
not alone, and it's very difficult for the people here to cope with that because they want to be your savior, but they aren't your savior. You need to save yourself. They can
But
only
hmm,
assist you medically if it's necessary, but emotionally, they don't connect often with the women. And that's the problem because it's also, um, you need to understand the process the woman is going through. Otherwise, you cannot assist her. It's a trusting.
Mm-hmm.
You need to trust each other.
You
You need to trust on the 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 the, the medical team or your midwife. It's a trusting trust that
so
they leave you
I
to do what
feel
you.
that
They
if
give
I
you the chance to do what you need to do. I
yeah.
think.
And especially when you're a culture like, okay, so you have an African culture. Where are you from,
Mhm.
Mill, originally?
I'm from Suriname.
Suriname.
Suriname is South
Okay.
America near Brazil.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
this is not African then, but actually probably some African roots
Mhm.
anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you, so you end up Your people, your culture mean more
Mm-hmm.
to you than you think. And especially if you end up transplanting, moving
Mm-hmm.
somewhere else, you know, it's funny how we become we identify with our bodies. And so we'll see certain people of a certain type of body, you know,
Yeah.
and you immediately want to connect to that, you know, well, that's home. Yeah. So especially when a woman giving birth, it's pretty emotional. I mean, it's definitely physical, but I think it's a very it's very female. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
we're all, yeah, Radhakund will appreciate this too. You guys appreciate it in India because you guys have so many languages, right? Even within your one country of India, you have all these states and over 100 languages. And I've seen you guys when you get together with somebody with your language, your eyes light up and you start babbling away
Yeah.
and the smiles break out and I can see the love and joy. And certainly as I move through here dealing with Indians and their variety of cultures. Yes. The variety of cultures and languages and how the culture changes from state to state, from region to region. Hell, you guys have different, I was just saying that this morning to my brother. You guys have different New Year's days. How does that work? Start the year on a different day. Months apart. How do you guys do this? No wonder you're all late. So
Okay,
yeah,
I also find, I think there's another angle to all this. That is with women working and with Google on your desktop, and all the information is on your click of a button. So women who are working, they feel they know it all. They know it all. So if somebody is saying to them something, somebody with experience, but they will look at Google and come to their own conclusion. They will not listen to the experienced person. They will draw their own conclusion from whatever sources they have. And they, because they're working, they feel a little, what should I say, smart, that they can do it, and they know better, and I don't know. I don't know if that's making sense to anybody, what I'm
it
saying.
does to me. I'll mention
Mhm.
that. I'll come back to that. It was an interesting point when you said it before. Yeah, Radhakund.
I agree with you, Newton. I think it all goes back to trust. If we're able to trust this professional giving this information, all this instruction, and I don't think it will be a need for you to do your own research. I mean, I think everybody should do their own research regardless. Educate yourself to some degree so that you will know your rights also, so that you can know when somebody's lying to you or stumbling on your rights. So that, so if the person giving you this information or giving you instruction, you know this person, you have that trust there, then it's easy to accept what they say without fighting back or without relying only on your source. So I think really it's just all that trust needs to be there. Otherwise, it does not work.
Either way, yeah. And to respond, Newton, about the working woman thing too. That's when you first said it, something else was running in my mind. And then when you were explaining yourself, then I understood something different. So, like for instance, I was going to say in the West anyway, women took on jobs because they couldn't afford to. They can't survive on single salaries in the West. Both partners they're forced to work because they can't afford it. They can't, it's just a ridiculous thing. And then you end up with daycare centers, and then you can't afford the daycare centers. It's just a ridiculous. And then we have ongoing problems. But then what you were describing is something different. Your women, well, yeah, many of your women are forced out to work because of economic situations. But then we're discussing another group of women who are intellectuals, who are more educated, more privileged. And so they're taking, it sounds to me what you're saying is that these women take on an extra job as part of progress or ego or their own personal journey rather than out of being pressured for economics, which is a different thing. I'm doing it because I want to do something else. Yeah, so that's an interesting difference. Okay, Riddhi, you had your hand up first. Tell me.
So I wanted to share my experience with women who come to the hospital. So there are few set of women. One are always surprised. Like whatever we tell them, they get surprised. Like, yeah, we tell them, it's your 38 week and, and they'll get surprised about every test, every checkup, every, one kind of women are, they don't want to know. They don't care. They don't want to know. They are not aware. They don't want to be aware. And one setup, one kind of, and I've also met women who want to, who have questions, who go home and research. So the intellectual one who go research, well, they ask they ask questions which are very theoretical. Like it doesn't apply, but they have read it, they are intellectual. But one kind of women are there who have learned it by seeing it. Like, they've seen their sister doing it, they've seen their sister-in-laws doing it, they've seen their aunts doing it. So like, their aunties. So they are connected. They are not surprised. They must have also done the education, the antenatal education classes. And like the way, so even as doctors, even as care providers, we start trusting them. It feels like, oh, we are a team. We are doing it together.
Yeah.
How can we? And in fact, I used to love to speak to them, because now when I'm talking to her and she's talking to me, it's so integrated. It's so integrated. And I think that's when I found the power of antenatal classes. And so I think this India KL right now, we are divided. We have nuclear setups, we are not living together. We are not going through things together. I think these guys, so I really felt the need of antenatal classes, the need of them, and managing their labor in it. So this is what I told you about the pregnancy. Now in labor, when a mother comes to us and she's like, oh, so when we keep telling her, you can take shower at home, you can take hot shower at home, you can lie down whenever you feel the contraction is every 15 minutes apart, let it come to 5 minutes apart, then come to the hospital. So some women will rush, like one thing, they will rush to the hospital.
Yeah.
Now see, the hospitals can't send them back. It's difficult, like legally by law, you can't say we will not provide you the care. Then if somebody comes to the hospital, then if you don't admit them, you have to tell why didn't you. So most of I'm talking about the corporate hospitals, not the nursing homes, where there's just one female running the hospital.
Interesting. Okay.
So why? So even so I would rather prefer she calling me, talking to me over the phone, being at home. Maybe so now I go to her home and we do a checkup and we go to the labor when we are in all in the active stage. I was wondering if women also start participating in their labor, it would be way more easier and better. And I mean, that's what came to my mind, that women need to participate in the labor. I mean, not women, couple, the family. the whole family need to participate in labor without fears, without conditioning, without with lots of love, with lots of let's do it together, with lots of, oh, it's going to be, yeah, it's a marathon, like not a marathon, but yes, it's a journey. Let's journey together. Let's help the baby. How can I relax? Because I've also seen mothers who are like so active. They are working till the end. They are vegan. They have beautiful diet, ending up in C-section because they were not able to let go. They were not able to relax. They had an agenda. They knew that, oh, I have to do this. Like the intellectual ones, they're like,
Yeah.
no, I know I have to do this. Or there was a person I helped. I was with her in water birth, where she was in the water birth since the beginning, and
Oh, yeah.
and I kept telling her that let's go in it, but she said, no, I've read it, I know it all, and I can tell, so like, uh, I feel as a care provider, we also need that trust. We like, it's both ways.
Absolutely. I agree with that. It's a two-way contract. And you kind of have to protect yourself as well. So especially when you're right, you have these people who've overthought it, or again, idealized it or romanced it, right? They've created something in their head. In the head, not the heart. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. They've read something or they saw a movie and they want to, they pick out the drapes to match. Which means they're and something else I wanted to say about the older woman. So or the professional woman. So sometimes, yeah, I've had a couple who are either they were older professionals, or teachers. Even a teacher will be the same, or one that I'm thinking of. She was a teacher. So they enter the world with their minds, right? They always have to think everything out. So, and I say this about anybody can give, I'll get to you, Surbi, no problem. But anybody, different ages, you can give birth, and you can give birth when you're older, you can give birth when you're young. When you're young, you have certain things that come with being a young mother. When you're older, there's certain things that come with being an older mother. The one thing is you're used to controlling your life. You're used to setting your alarm and you think you're going to sleep until the alarm goes off. So that whole life just changed on you. And that's the only thing I find is that they have to get out of that need to intellectualize, understand, dissect everything. There's no dissecting this, man. Just let it go. Don't think this out. Whereas the young person won't have questions. They'll just sit there. They're easy. Yeah. Yep. Ask for logic explanations, but the young one will just go with the flow. They're used to kind of being directed, so they just kind of accept and relax. They don't think so much. Also the same, and I don't mean this as a put down because I'm thinking of someone in particular, someone who's not particularly educated. Sometimes that's a damn good thing. I can think of someone like this Australian woman. She's had all her babies at home and she's always making mistakes, and she's just not she actually didn't get through school very far. I think she dropped out at 4th grade or 5th grade. But my God, she's brilliant at birthing. She's a farm girl. She milks cows. She makes her butter. They work on mud brick houses. So she might not be able to spell Google or my name, but she can have a baby without too much effort. Because they're just more accepting. And maybe thinking too much is the problem. Yeah. So yes, very, very interesting point. So Surbi, please tell me. Please tell me what your question was.
I just wanted to check when the mother is having a lot of logics, because this happened with one of our mother who is herself a pediatrician, and then I guess she could not leave her logic and a lot of ifs and buts. That even she had a long labor, and then she actually gave in to her doctor's advice that okay, it's too late, we can go for C-section. Then she herself admitted to me that if we would have waited for 1 or 2 hours, the baby would have automatically come in. So the more knowledge that is being added by education is harming us. If it is a laborer, if it is a farmer, or any person who is ground to earth, they don't ask doctor, they don't go to doctors, they birth naturally in the fields at their home. They are being taken care by the birth workers. But the more education is, I guess, becoming detrimental for us. This happened with one of the mother who is joined with us, Sonal. Sonal, please share what happened with you 2 days back with all the calculations that you did. Sonal, maybe you
Which
can just share. One of
who?
my mother has joined here. Is she there?
Which mother?
She is joined with Children Who Code, Sonal.
Oh, there somebody
Actually,
just joined Children Who Code. Oh,
she-
Children
she
Who Code.
yeah, Sonal, are you there?
I see
I guess
see
yes,
there.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there they are.
Okay, so what happened? She was under stress, the mental stress, 2, 3 hours back, 2, 3 days back, and the baby stopped moving. The baby was not making the movements for a longer
Mhm.
time that she went to the hospital and they did all the checkups. They admitted her for 2 days, one whole day, and the next day give her drips and everything else because she was under stress. How am I gonna manage my baby? Maybe family stress, stress with in-laws, or what other things. Then the baby came under distress, and then the baby stopped making the movements, and all that mess got created. And then during our counseling, we found that because of the stress, everything else happened. Otherwise, all the reports came normal. So because we had a lot of knowledge, that is proving us detriment. Just to share my point.
Hmm. Very interesting. Hello. I don't want to call you Children Who Code. I'm sure you have a name.
My name is Sonal. Sorry, it's a different account.
Sona. Okay. Nice to meet you, Sona.
Thank you. Thank you. I learned a lot today. Thank you for allowing me to join.
Well,
So
thank
it
you.
was it was really and now I'm feeling very prepared for my
Great.
labor. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So, okay, so a lot of comment was just made about being educated. How do you feel about that, Sona? How do you feel about that? How it affected you or entered into your mind?
I didn't get your question, please.
So, Surbi was telling us about, your recent experience.
Yeah.
And can you share how you feel about that?
Actually, for the last 4-5 days, I had shared with Surbi also in my session that I didn't took it that seriously, but I think I was doing a lot of overthinking and maybe due to some circumstances or the family stress and all. So I was doing a lot of overthinking, but I was not taking it very seriously because everything was fine. But suddenly, one day on Monday, I did not feel any movements for the entire day. So, and I thought it's normal, but the doctor had mentioned that whenever you don't feel any movements for the baby for 2 or 3 hours, do come for a checkup. So, so I
You're
thought
going to
it's
be
not.
seeing a doctor every day.
Yeah. So when I realized that I have not felt it for like 5-7 hours, then I went to the doctor at night, and then they did the NST for the fetal health checkup, and that test was not good. Although I had a belief that maybe the machines are not working properly because I knew everything is fine, but still the reports were not good according to the doctor. So they admitted and they said that let's do all the checkup, and they put some drips and medicines and injections and all for 1.5 days. But next day when they did the ultrasound, so everything was normal. Like earlier there was a single loop around my baby, but now it was gone in 1 month. There was a difference of 8 to 10 days between the delivery dates. That was also gone. And BP issue, everything was normal, like as compared to the previous. So then they discharged it. And I asked them the reason why it was, and is it really a matter of concern if the baby doesn't move for few hours? They said, yes, it can be a matter of concern, but they don't know the exact reason why there were no fetal movements. So that's when I came back. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's very interesting. So actually, it's not 2 hours. Like I say, if it's 2 hourly, man, you're going to be in the hospital every single day, probably twice a day. You know, if you're a normal human being, I would expect you to be doing something other than sitting there counting your baby's movements. You know, you don't do this. May I ask how far along are you? How many weeks pregnant?
I started with my 36th week.
Oh, at 36 weeks, for Pete's sakes. Look, I don't even look at this until you're 43 weeks pregnant. The only time I care about this is if you are post dates. So anything else is just, they're just stirring you up. Well, of course, now we're in a society where we are looking for problems. We're looking for them. So it's quite normal for babies to settle down and be very subtle in their movements or non-movements for a number of hours. We're looking, when I get to a point where I'm going to ask about movements, as I say, you're usually 43 weeks pregnant, and I'm looking at 6-hour blocks, not 2 to 3. And people will come to me after 2 days of non-movement, right? And really what it is, it's not that the baby isn't moving. The mother is not really aware. So sometimes they can just be, you know, you can be, they do most of their movements, by the way, while you're asleep. Because when you're awake, you're moving, your muscles are tight. When you sleep, your muscles relax, and now the baby can start dancing. So, and the funny thing about the cord around the neck and then the loop was gone, they're practically looking for problems. So it's interesting, this discussion about being overly educated. And whereas so again, there's always black and white. Yeah, there's always shadows here. So I think it's very good and very important for everybody to be educated. And I think everybody should know about their body and how it works. What's overeducated? What does that even mean? I don't think you can be overeducated, but I think you can be paranoid. I think you're well, what's education? Let's look at education. What education are we learning from? If you're going to stupid school, then you're better off not getting education. If you're just being taught a bunch of lies, if you're being taught that your baby is at risk if it hasn't moved for 2 hours, well, that's stupid school. So stupid people come from stupid school. Now, if you actually, people who end up in stupid school will ask the stupid teacher, how does that work? So the smart student will notice that the stupid teacher hasn't got a decent answer. So they go to get educated, not bullied, not tricked, not lied to, not completely propaganda and duped 100%. Now you get educated. And this is where I keep saying the words, critical thinking. Think about it. Okay, learn as much as you can. I'm good with education. Check your resources. Who are you learning from? Who are you learning from? So it just flew across my screen this morning and I want to pick it back up. I've mentioned it before. Where does obstetrics come from? What does the study of obstetrics, where did it come from? Empowerment, exactly. Obstetrics comes from slavery. They took women. I think there were like 8 specific women that were kept as, they were slaves. They had no choice. And they were brutalized. They were violated. They were guinea pigs. They were live rats that were treated like rats. And so while we can actually understand, yeah, this is how a baby moves, or this is what a bony pelvis looks like, there is another passenger that we know about, and that's the psyche and the emotions. Well, those women and the psyche, not just the emotions of the mother, but the psyche of the people attending those births, those experiments, that plays a role. So it's not 100%. I'm still looking at the research. I still look at what came out of it. But I'm still applying critical thinking. Yep. So I have to take what I learned from books, what I hear from other people, what I see from experience, come up, what I've lived with and what I've seen and experienced in my body, then I make a decision for my body. Think, question. Yeah, that's how, and share it. Don't let anybody talk you into scary things for no good reasons.
I think a lot of it was also experiment of unwed women. Unwed women who were put into, wasn't there something like that as well? Who were experimented on?
I don't know if you can experiment on a young white woman.
They were put in homes where they were given antenatal care, and then antenatal, prenatal care was based on that.
I wouldn't be surprised if they used a lot of their techniques, their new experiments, their new interventions, and this is how we work it out. And isn't that kind of, I mean,
But
seriously.
this thing about slave women, I didn't know. Eight slave women were experimented with, is it?
Yeah, they were named, they all had names Betty. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty gruesome. It's pretty horrid. I mean, it was real slave and rape and let's slice them up and dice them up. These women they didn't conceive naturally. They conceived by rape. So that, these were not happy women. These are not happy babies. So the whole process will not be right.
फिर ये खत्म होगा तो मुझे बताना आप क्या कह रहे हो.
So, but you use what you can use, and again, this is the thing. You take your information, you understand where it came from, and you make a decision, and you use your intelligence, use your heart. So I believe a certain thing, that God is with us. God is in my heart. He's always aware. And, I kind of think that's what primal instinct is. I think it's just the Lord in the heart telling us what to do if we're actually listening to him. But in any case, at the end of the day, that's what I do is I take all this information, I think about it, I process it, and I pray to God in the heart to help me understand all this stuff and guide me forward through the birth. So, okay, everyone, is that okay for today?
Yes, very overwhelming at the end.
Joy. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much. Sir. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So we'll
Thank
do this.
you.
The next one we'll do hang on, I'll get the right date this time. The 5th of July is the next childbirth
What's
class.
the topic for Monday's class?
Oh, Monday's class, I think we still have to finish the last bit of pregnancy, all those things. And then we will start getting into the again, what we're talking about today. But in terms of being a midwife or a doula, how we support women through labor or yeah, things like this. So
So
that
we
will
don't
be
have to
Monday.
do pre-reads. It's
Sorry?
just the same. We don't have any pre-reads. It's just the chapter 6 and 7.
Yeah, I'll send you something. I'll send you something you'll see.
Sure, perfect. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.